Hello, this is Fred at Nozzle Supply. We've been asked about our larger tools, A23, A24, and C23 tools. Our tools look a lot different than the Mydata tools, but for most customers, they won't see any differences in their placements. I'll open up here. We've got an A23 tool. And there's an A23 tool. And we sell this with a spare Mycromechanics tip. Mycromechanics tips are the same tips that Mydata uses in the HO4 Hydra tools. So you may be familiar with Mycromechanics tips. These particular tips are made for placing dies in the building of integrated circuits. So they're very precise, probably much more precise than you need placing your discrete tool, parts on circuit boards. But customers look at these and some will say, well, it's not as strong and as rigid as the Mycronics tool, Mydata Mycronics tool. And it looks like that. This tube, we have to straighten that after we assemble it into the slider and assemble this piece up here that holds the Mycromechanics tip. So we do some straightening on this, and it takes an extreme amount of pressure to bend these things and overbend them to a point where we can dial them into, our near zero run out. So for most customers, they don't need to be afraid of the fact that the tube, this tool looks a little different. And the advantage is you buy a tool for us. It costs a fraction of what the Mycronics tool cost. You get an extra tip, and tips can be installed in just seconds there. And the tool, if the tip is damaged, it can be ready to go in seconds. So your uptime is much better. The tool costs a fraction of the original Mydata Mycronics tool. And it gives you flexibility. We have a chart here. This is the size of the original Mydata tool. It's got a 3mm ID, 5mm OD. With the Mycronics, or the Mydata, with the Mycromechanics tips, you can choose R311 with a 3.2mm hole and 4mm OD. The R3712 that has 3.7 ID with a 4.5mm hole outside diameter. Or the R3713 that has a 4.2mm ID. With a 4.2mm ID compared to a 3mm ID, you can lift a much heavier chip and place it effectively. So you have flexibility as far as being able to use the different tips. A24, there's a choice of 2 tips that are within the range. C23, there's a choice of 2 different tips that can be used with that. So you can go for the same, or close to the same ID as the Mydata Mycronics tool, or you can go to a larger and pick up a much heavier component. So there are our spring tools for, here's an A24. That particular Mycronics or Mydata tip has been ground around. This is an original factory tip, and we can customize these if necessary. So by using our tools, you can effectively place many of the same ICs that you would with the factory tools. You have flexibility as picking up heavier parts, and you won't be worried about the cost. These individual Mycromechanics tips, we charge less than $5 a piece for these, and because you can throw one away and replace it quickly and not worry about the cost, you will have more uptime, better placements when you're working with your ICs. And that's how we do it at Nozzle Supply Company.